Welcome back to the Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast. And in case you're just joining us, you're listening to the Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast with Emmy, Hikins, and Trevor.
Pick up with a sore head, So and then I nurse this headache throughout the day, and it limits what I can do. And I'm thinking, this is a wasted day. But on my own, I don't waste time. No, I don't. No, I feel anyway.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think we can't help it. I mean, as I say, once in a while I'll go and see a film at the cinema, and I'll come out and think, well, I won't ever get that 2 hours back again because it wasn't worth seeing. So, or even watching something on TV, sometimes you can have that feeling. But equally, I think sometimes we can be tempted to think that whether when working or at leisure, we've always got to be doing something. I mean, I think I'm like that. I tend to be quite restless and active. I like to be doing something productive. I like to look back on a day and say, yeah, that was a good day. But I'm sure there's also relevance in saying, well, we also need to just stop and reflect sometimes, regroup a little bit, smell the coffee, see the flowers or whatever. I think it's a middle road of not overdoing it. It's good to utilize our time properly, to realize it's a precious resource. Somebody, I guess, who was able, against all the odds, to utilize their time was somebody called Helen Keller. Now, you probably have heard of her, and I thought she's somebody we can have a conversation with about in the next week or two. But she was a lady when she was I think she was 19 months old, so very, very little. She had an illness. She had a fever, which very sadly left her deaf and blind. Both deaf and blind. Can you imagine? Now, she was born in 1880 in America. She actually lived to 88, so 1968 she died. And poor girl, I mean, she probably wouldn't have learned much by way of language when she had this illness. So she suddenly found herself deaf and blind. And there's a very good movie about it as well, which I saw some time ago. She was helped to begin to understand the world by somebody called Anne Sullivan. And in the early days, she became sort of very physically aggressive towards Anne as she tried to learn things. And then one day she made a breakthrough. And the first word she sort of learned was water. I think Anne Sullivan put Helen's hands under a dripping tap, and they had a code. They developed a code, or Anne did, so she could learn the letters. In fact, in her life, she said the most important things in life are words, which, of course, we discussed last week in our podcast.
Yeah.
So anyway, I won't go on too much about Helen Keller now, but when you think she got a Bachelor of Arts degree at Radcliffe University, which is now part of Harvard.
Yeah.
She traveled the world lecturing on all sorts of things, on life, on disadvantage, on positivity. She didn't waste a moment of her life. Now, just think again, what must it be like to be deaf and blind? I mean, either one of those handicaps is, for most of us, is a kind of a nightmare. But to actually grapple with that and to come through, she wrote 14 books, all of which I believe are still in print. I've got 2 or 3 of them. Quite fascinating to read the words of somebody who is deaf and blind, not be able to visibly perceive the world. And in fact, one of her favourite kind of concepts was that the really important things in life are related not to vision or hearing, but to what goes on in the hearts. The stuff that comes into our hearts, as we would say. So she's a fascinating example of how to utilize your time, properly, constructively, against all the odds that she had to face. And I think she's a great example. So, somebody else wrote a book, Stephen Hawking, called A Brief History of Time. I tried to read that once a couple of years ago, And it really, I mean, I thought, I probably understand the basic rudiments of it, but it was just impossible. So I then found out he wrote another book, a summary of that, called A Briefer History of Time, which made it, he said he wanted to make it more accessible. I mean, the first one was just inaccessible to the layman completely. The second one was not much better, but again, you get this incredible brain that he had explaining in layman's terms, really, what time is all about. And of course, he related it to Einstein and things like that. We can think back to what I said about what we see is kind of within the past 15 seconds. But then you think as well, when we look at the sun, we don't look at it, but we know it's there. The sun at that moment is actually 8 minutes ago. What we see was the light coming to. So we even see that in the past. Much of what we see, but all of.
We're going to take a short break now. We're back shortly. You've been listening to the Alien Spaceship Talk Show with Trevor and Emmy Hikins. The Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast is looking for sponsors. If you're a company out there looking to spread the word about the products and services you provide, please get in touch with Deepstuff Radio Podcast on info@deepstuffrecords.com, or to use the contact form on our website to contact us, please visit radio.deepstuffrecords.com. Also, if you're looking to get involved on the Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast, reach out via our Deepstuff Radio Facebook page. Thank you.